So now that early voting is available throughout the entire state of Florida for the primaries, we're going to go over the top 4 candidates so you all have all the information you need to vote at the polls, starting with Renner, which is the only person DeSantis has came out and supported.
So, like somebody like Speaker Renner, I mean, people said, when he ran, I said, I didn't advise him to run. It wasn't because I didn't think he would be a good governor. I think he'd be really good. He's got a great record of policy. But how are you going to what's your strategy to get known? How do you get known to people, right, when you're doing that? And that's just something that's very difficult in our state. And honestly, it's difficult in many places around the country with these primaries.
Now, if you know nothing about Renner, he's worked alongside of DeSantis for years in the government, and he wants to uphold every single thing DeSantis has done so far, and he wants to carry on that torch, starting with Sharia law. Now, our great Governor Ron DeSantis has banned Sharia law in the state of Florida, and he wants to make sure that ban stays intact. Next up, he has made one of the greatest comments I've heard from any of these candidates to date. He stated if you voted for Mayor Mamdani up in New York City, you should have to live there for years underneath his ruling before you're allowed to move out of that state. And I 100% agree with this. And his take on AI data centers is actually perfect if you listen to it, because the mainstream media wants you to think that there's this division, yes or no. Well, Florida already has over 100 data centers to begin with. We don't use open loop systems anymore. They're all closed loops. I did a video on this already explaining to you how AI data centers are actually ran. He just wants to make sure that none of the water gets drained and you all don't foot the bill for electricity. And that's where the middle ground is, and that's how a governor should make those type of statements instead of falling into this mainstream media nonsense of yes or no. There are middle grounds, and this man has found one for AI data centers. He's also against putting masks on your kids or any of these vaccine mandates. He wants to make sure Florida remains Florida and everything turns out best for Floridians. He also wants to go as far as to reduce our homeowners insurance and reduce the cost of living for Floridians specifically, which is exactly what our great Governor Ron DeSantis was all about. Next is going to be Fishback.
It would ban Blackstone, any private equity firm, any Airbnb speculator, and any foreign national from buying a single family home in this state of Florida.
He wants to remove all vaccine mandates, which is actually a good thing because you, the parent, should be in charge of what you put in your child's body.
We will never, ever allow vaccine mandates in the state of Florida.
He also wants to ban data centers in the state of Florida.
I'm going to stand up and ban data centers. I'm going to fight for our citrus growers and our cattle ranchers. I'm going to stand up for your First Amendment right and your Second Amendment right, because I'm a principled conservative.
He also wants to pick up where Governor DeSantis left off with removing tolls for Floridians and putting that burden and payments on the tourists that visit our state.
I will eliminate all tolls for Florida residents.
And this next one is a really big issue for me. He's in favor of the removal and banning of all flat camera surveillance systems. And if you don't know what these are, they're being installed all across the country right now, and they monitor your likeness, your face, and your license plates to know exactly where you've been, where you are, and how long you were there. This way they know how to sit there and investigate somebody without a warrant. Now, this is 100% illegal. There's actually a law that states you cannot create a surveillance state on the citizens. That's why we have warrants. Now, for individuals, for citizens, you actually have no right to privacy. So if some other citizen is recording you, there is no expectation of privacy in public. However, for law and government officials, there are laws that prevent them from doing this.
On that debate stage, I was the only candidate to look the camera in the eye and say that as governor, I'm going to block FLoC, ban data centers, and prevent Palantir from having contracts in our state.
One thing I really don't like about Fishback, though, he always gets into these religious moments. It's religion, 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 God this, religious that. I don't care if you're religious or not. I don't care what your religion is. You're running for governor of the state of Florida. I want to know what your plans are, what your ideologies are, how you plan to execute those said plans, and how do you plan to leave this state better than it was when you first took office? And how do you plan to make the people who live in the state, the Floridians, more prosperous and better off because you are the governor? That's what I want to know, not your religion. Followed by Byron Donalds. This man right here is running for governor for the great state of Florida, and lots of people only want to vote for him because Trump said he would make a great governor someday. Nobody wants to do actual research or due diligence on any of the candidates. They just want to vote for whomever somebody tells them to vote for. Well, here's the problem. This man right here is a rhino. He is only a Republican by name. He has the same ideologies as Democrats. He has the same thought process as Democrats, and he backs a lot of the same laws that are held up over in California and New York City, starting with what happened to Floyd. When Floyd passed away, he said something should be done, the exact same thought process as the Democrats. He thought the police were in the wrong, the exact same thought process as the Democrats. And if you don't believe me, here's the video.
I support people protesting. I want to make sure that there's justice for George Floyd. We definitely have to do something about police brutality in America.
He also agrees with a lot of the California and New York City laws when it comes to theft.
A Samsung S10, which is on Samsung's site right now, is $999. Currently today, if a 19-year-old stole that phone from somebody else, they will be a felon for the rest of their lives. Now, stealing the phone is wrong. I grant you that. The question is, does the lifetime of lost wages, a lifetime of being a felon, is that worth the crime of a felony theft? Is that punishment equitable? In my opinion, that answer is no. It is not equitable. And that is why it is time that we as a body raise the felony theft threshold. With that, I close, Mr. Chair.
Having closed on his bill.
Yeah, you heard him right. He agrees with the theft law in California. He believes you should be able to steal up to $999 without any repercussions whatsoever. And this is exactly what happened with the riots throughout the country in places like California, New York City, etc. They were allowed to steal up to $999 and they would not arrest them in any way, shape, or form, which then places like Home Depot, Lowe's started locking everything up nationwide. That's why when you go to Lowe's and Home Depot now, everything is locked up. You can thank California for that. And guess what? Byron backs that. This man right here is not a Republican. You have to see through the nonsense that they are putting out. There is a reason why the biggest Democrat cities and counties are backing him. Orlando Sentinel, Dade County. These are heavy Democrat areas and they're all pushing for him. You've got to stop and think for a minute. After the videos you just listened to, and after all these posts where you can see the Democrats are pushing for him, don't you think there's some red flags here? Even our own governor, Ron DeSantis, does not support him.
You know, you got a guy like Byron. He just hasn't been a part of any of the victories that we've had here over the left over these last years. He's just not been a part of it. He's been in other states campaigning, doing that, and that's fine. But okay, well then deliver results up there. You know, that's what I want to see.
It's time my fellow Floridians saw the truth. You all are being manipulated by the media. These are the same companies, the same media outlets that want you to vote no come November 3rd so you don't increase Homestead from 50 grand to 250 grand, because these same exact cities are the same cities that are Democrat ran, that are misappropriating funds, and they want that extra money in their pocket. These are the people lying to you, and it's time you saw the truth. And last up, Williams. I have watched endless hours of this man talk, and I have to tell you all something. I'm sorry, but this man cannot talk at all.
But just sitting here watching a lot of this news, and reason why these elections are so important, you got to know the fruit. So I'm just going to say this, everybody's stuck, and I said this huge switch has already happened, and it's happening on the endorsement from Trump.
If we're at a point to where we got to take our toilet water, turn a tap, there's an issue and a problem. And at what point do we become Aaron Brockovich?
Something you really need to be good at if you're running for a position such as governor of a state like Florida is you need to be a good speaker. And I'm sorry, Williams just is not a good speaker. But when it comes to all of the talking points that Floridians want to hear about, he will tell you all about them. He's against AI data centers. He's saying Florida's full. He doesn't want any more businesses here. He wants to keep Florida the way it is, and he doesn't want anything else being torn down in the state of Florida.
I see the struggles with property tax. I see the struggles with insurance. I see the struggles with electric bills. I see the struggles with water bills, which is fixing to increase in Polk County. They got a lot of stuff going on that ain't right. And it's just about fixing triple bills.
But he'll also tell you how he's all for the removal of property tax, how he's for the increase of the reduction of property tax on homestead homes come November 3rd. But at the same time, he tells you he's against people moving here because Florida's full, so therefore you're limiting our tourism. He's sitting here saying how he doesn't want the businesses here. And I got a question. How do you plan to pay for these things if you keep telling people Florida's full, we don't want businesses here? You have to have a way to pay for these things, Bobby. And by removing our tourism and businesses from coming to Florida, you cannot pay for those things. Now, one big problem I have with this man right here is when he had an interview a week ago telling everybody how our current governor, Ron DeSantis, is only a C-grade governor.
He says, and Bobby would agree with me, if DeSantis was running a third term, I wouldn't run. That's Fishback said it. He said, Bobby would agree. I don't agree with that.
So you would?
No. I give DeSantis a C.
Just for the fact that this man right here called Governor Ron DeSantis a C-grade governor, one of the greatest governors Florida has ever had, a C-grade governor, he just lost all credibility with me. What does he plan to do? The complete opposite of what Governor Ron DeSantis does? That is not what I'm looking for, and I'm sure that's not what a lot of Floridians are looking for. But what he will tell you is how he's a third-generation Floridian and how long he's been in Florida, and by the way, that means absolutely nothing. That does not make you a good or bad governor for any state. Governor Ron DeSantis is only a second-generation family of Florida, and guess what? He's one of the greatest governors Florida has ever seen. So now that we've gone over the top 4 Floridian candidates for the primaries, I want to know down below who you're voting for.